Welcome in, everyone, to the first episode of this new show on the Consistently Inconsistent podcast channel known as The Meta. We'll be talking everything important in the world of eSports, breaking it down for the little man, talking deep cuts for the experienced eSports player. But we just really wanted a place to on eSports besides each other, because there's not too many people that like to sit around and talk esports logistics like Michael and I. But joining me today is my good buddy Michael Kinslow, the Chunky Taco himself. Michael, how are you doing on this bye week Saturday?
I'm doing fantastic. It is fall break. I am home in Charleston, relaxing, having a good time, and we get to talk about esports. Not all sports like we normally do, just esports, which you and I kind of have a little thing for.
Yeah,
we do enjoy our esports. So
we are those 20-somethings that are not your 16-year-old kids watching people play video games. We are the 20-somethings watching people play video games. And it's, it's fun. There's something about esports that I think is missed out upon by some people. You sit somebody down in front of a video game like League of Legends, like we'll talk about, or Overwatch, like we'll talk about, and it seems like there is a lot going on, because there usually is. But it's no different from having somebody who's never watched football before and sit them down in front of a TV screen and try to explain to them the rules of football, and you realize, oh my gosh, there's a lot of rules to football, trying to explain this to people.
Yeah,
it's
so for any. I mean, as any sport though, at least most sports have that.
And then
curve coming in,
explaining offsides to an American who's never watched soccer is a hard thing to do. They're like, wait, what? They can't go there?
Yeah, and like try and explain what a balk is to anybody who doesn't watch baseball.
And then trying to explain what a gank is to somebody who doesn't watch League of Legends is exactly. They would ask, like, is that a sex thing?
Right? A gank? Like, what? Like,
what?
Is this a PG-13 podcast? What is this?
And then it's not the calm Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, calmly breaking down and assessing the situation. It's a lot of, oh my gosh, did you just see that? He just went for it. He just went for the goal. He just got him. He went for the mid. No.
Fellow nerds and fans they get hyped. You have what? In regular sports, you've got your color commentator and your play-by-play.
Right.
They have a similar setup for esports for those.
And usually the color commentator is usually a player, and then the play-by-play guy is usually like a broadcaster that you also know, that who just has a good voice, a la Jim Nantz. And then you get their little banter of somebody who's played the game, and then you have somebody who's watched a lot of the game and who has just enough right to talk about that sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's similar in esports, very similar. You have your play-by-play caster, and then you have your color commentator, which in esports are known as shoutcasters. So you have your one guy who gives you the play-by-play, what's happening, is a fight breaking out, depending on the game you're playing, what strategies are they going through, what objectives are coming up. They run you through all that like your play-by-play guy does. And then your shoutcasters, they are the hype men of the group. If a fight breaks out, expect them to be yelling the entire time. They have to make it. I mean, it's as much as them being excited for what's happening in the game as it is making it exciting for the viewer to watch, and also a little easier for the viewer to follow in those intense moments, because you have somebody who kind of guides you through it, but they're very enthusiastic about it at the same time.
And one thing that I would kind of hope to be a victory of this podcast is for people to not feel as intimidated to watch esports for the first time as somebody might feel, or not to feel like you're a child watching video games, because these people, I mean, I don't like the term athlete, because I don't think they like the term athlete, because athlete to a video game person most of the time implies jock.
Yeah.
And is something that video game people usually don't like, because they were probably made fun of jocks in high school. So probably going to roll with the term pro player on this show because that's what they are. They're professional video game players. They get paid money
to play video games.
Play video games. So we're going to roll with pro player in terms of what we call the individual players. And these people do not have regular names. Just so we get this out of the way, you're going to hear weird names. The best League of Legends player in the world. They have regular names, but we don't know they're regular. They have birth.
They do have names like everybody else, but they go by their in-game name, which is
their birth certificate does not say Faker.
It's absolutely. It's a, you know, it actually to be his
might say Faker. You know, he might have gotten back.
His might, but most of them probably don't have their in-game name.
Well, speaking of Faker, and we're gonna roll in, we're gonna talk about esports when we're gonna do this show when it seems appropriate. There's usually some gaps in between when the big esports tournaments take place for each game, but right now we are in the big swing of things for the biggest esport on the planet, and that is League of Legends. The World Championships are in full swing right now. The last quarterfinal is at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever makes you feel better.
As a Western viewer,
God, and then
it is so hard
and then when you care, you're all plugged into the Bleacher Report notifications. You're all plugged in. Like, I don't have the League of Legends app or anything like that gives me notifications, but Bleacher Report will ruin a match for me very easily.
They will. Pretty. I mean, just like your regular football match. You know, you're at your mom's new wed. You know, she's getting married for the 5th time. You're at the wedding. Can't catch the game. Same concept.
And but in esports defense, it's a lot easier to go back and watch a match of esports than it is to find a full broadcast of an NBA or NFL game.
Event VODs are probably the saving grace of esports. If event VODs didn't exist and you could not, and you had to actually pay like you would the NFL to go back to the like NFL Rewind or Replay, what do they call it now? Game Pass. I think
Game Pass.
You know, if you got to pay for that in esports, might have faltered out a little bit, but the fact that you can go in, find pretty much any game you want for the last 5 years, awesome.
That's how it is. Well, let's roll into the Worlds. Like I said, the quarterfinals are finishing up tonight. I believe the semifinals would then be next week.
Yes, the semifinals would most likely be starting next week, to my knowledge.
Okay. So let's just kind of give a recap of how we got to this point, Michael. There's five stages of Worlds. You have the play-ins, and then you have the group stages that act much like a FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, it's very
where you have 4 teams split, or you have 4 teams per group. You have X amount of groups.
Yeah, they play
and then everybody plays double round robin. You play everybody twice in your group, and then the 2 best teams from each group advance.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So they Worlds, like you said, we're going to run through a little quick recap. Worlds, you qualify for Worlds in many different ways. Each region, there's many different regions that we'll get into in other podcasts, but just for the most part, 3 teams per the major regions, which would be China, North America, Europe, Korea, and then there's a couple other regions that wouldn't be considered major regions, but they usually have 1 or 2 teams that'll come through. So the 1 and 2 seeds advance on points and or winning their summer split is the usual format. A split is kind of like a half season, if that makes sense for football fans, baseball fans. It's like half the season would be a split.
There's just shorter seasons within the year that all culminate with it 2 Worlds.
Yes, they play 2 seasons, and you earn points over those seasons based on your placement, and then basically, if you win summer split, that shows you're currently the best team in your region, so you automatically qualify in most cases. Second seed is based off of the championship points you win based on how you finish in each split. So whoever has the most points after that first qualifier gets the second seed. The third seed, other regions depend on how they do this. Most regions do a gauntlet style where I believe the remaining playoff teams and no, it's not. At least in North America, it's the next, I think, 4 highest point values go through the gauntlet, lowest moving to the highest, and whoever wins the gauntlet gets the 3rd seed. And I believe that's the way for most of the regions. But That's how you qualify for Worlds. Now, once you get to Worlds, the third seed from some of the regions and some of the wildcard regions, these smaller regions, play in what's known as the play-ins, which is basically the group stage that's a little bit smaller, and it's more of the right to think about the March Madness tournament. You got those 2 or 4 playing games. It's like
4, I believe we're at
I
now.
think it's 4 right now, but
4
it's
right
like
now.
very similar to that. So these teams technically qualified, but they have to prove themselves one step a little bit further and get out of the play-ins. They do a very similar thing, a double round robin. They do a group stage in the play-in, and then after that they do a 5-game series knockout in the play-in, and then the top 4 teams of play-in advance. So the top 4 teams that advanced are Cloud9, the 3rd seed from North America, Fnatic, the 3rd seed from Europe, 1907 Fenerbahce eSports, which is a Turkish team, and then Team WE, the 3rd seed out of China. So those were the 4 teams out of, I believe, 16. It was either 16 or 12. I think it was one of the two that got
16, I think.
Yeah, got into that group stage that made it out. So now we move on to the group stage of Worlds, which it just finished last week. So in group stage, like Colin was saying, it's very similar to the FIFA World Cup in a double round robin setting where each team is drawn into a group. So group A, B, C, D is what they call them. Now, group A, basically in group stage, drew out to be SK Telecom, the former world champions from Korea. They were actually the Korean 2 seed this year. Cloud9, the 3 seed that moved in from NA and got through play-ins. AHQ eSports, which I cannot remember if they're Taiwanese or Vietnamese. They're one of the two. Can't remember off the top of my head. They made it in, and then Edward Gaming, the 1 seed from China, was in that group. Group B, Longzhu Gaming, 1st seed out of Korea. Fnatic, the 3rd seed out of Europe that we talked about getting out of the play-in. The Gigabyte Marines, which we'll talk about later, were one of the surprise teams that
much fun to watch.
They were so much fun to watch. They shook Worlds up. Like, the show is called The Meta. They do not abide by the meta. It is something. They're fun to watch. And then the 4th team in that group was Immortals, the 2 seed out of North America. Now, Group C was the 2 seed out of China, Royal Never Give Up. Then Samsung Galaxy, the 3 seed out of Korea. G2 Esports came in as the 1 seed from Europe, and then 1907 Fenerbahce Esports from Turkey came out of the play-ins that we were talking about earlier. Team WE came out first in Group D. They are the 3 seed from China, also came through the play-ins. Misfits Gaming, the 3rd seed from Europe. Team Solo Mid, the 1st seed from North America, and Flash Wolves, who, I gotta get this right, they're from the LMS, I believe. I just want to make sure I get the correct nation. I don't want to get that wrong. Pretty sure it's Taiwan.
Yes, I believe they're.
Pretty sure it's
I believe
Taiwan.
so.
I'll go with that for now. Maybe get corrected somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure it's Taiwan. They were the 4th team in Group D. So now these teams, Colin, you watched some of the group stage with me.
Yes, sir, I did.
We kind of hinted at it, but who out of the group stage really shook things up for you?
Well, their name just left me. We just said it.
It was from Group B. It was Gigabyte Marines. I mean,
Gigabyte Marines. Gigabyte Marines were one of the most interesting teams. They're that team that can come in and knock you off your game. It seems like their strategy is don't do what they think you're gonna do.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they come in. A lot of people would call it cheesing the other team, which to a certain extent, yes, they are cheesing the other team because, I mean, the
Flash Wolves is a Taiwan team.
It is. Okay, cool. But to a certain extent, they are cheesing other teams, but they're also just breaking the meta in a sense, playing things that aren't necessarily supposed to be played because they're not the best, but they're making it work.
And for those that don't know, the meta of a game is depending on what you're talking about. So we're talking about the League of Legends World Championships meta. Metas form within tournaments of what is the popular / most the most optimistic team you can put together in terms of characters. In Hearthstone, it would be what decks are the most popular to climb the ladder with or play in tournaments. And those metas might not be the same. The meta that you see on the Hearthstone ladder from, say, levels 20 to 15 is not the same. Like, you're not going to see the same decks 20 to 15 that you're going to see in the rank 5 to legend climb that you see.
Yeah.
So these teams have been coming in, and by the time you get to where we are now in the World Championships, the meta is very established. You know what mid, and then within League of Legends, when teams play games, they play games within a match. So we'll call matches the best of 3 or best of 5 series that they play within a given day. Do you want me to add Ben in?
Yeah, he can get in. I'm not sure if he's ready to go yet, but you can at least shoot him an invite real fast. We'll see if he wants to get in on this. He texted me that said he was finishing a game, so we'll see if he's out of that yet. But while Colin's doing that, so the meta specifically in League of Legends, for you play on what's known as a patch, and all the patch is what the current update to the game is. It might change characters, it might change items, it might change the map you play on, things like that. That's the patch that you play on. It changes things about the game. Now, they know well in advance what patch they will be playing on for Worlds, and that's kind of what defines the meta.
And this is not the current patch that people that are playing League while watching League of Legends are playing at home.
That's correct. I think we're currently 2 or 3 patches ahead of where the Worlds patch is. So, what you might be playing right now in League of Legends at home is going to be very different from what, because basically you'd have a blast from the past, what they're playing right now on the competitive stage. But those patches really decide what is played, what the meta will be, because it's all about finding who the best player or the best champion items, team compositions are based on that patch. So that's what we mean when we talk about the meta, specifically for League of Legends, is it's defined by these patches. And the Gigabyte Marines absolutely did not want to play by the meta. They brought in the meta currently in League of Legends is, to be fair, pretty boring to watch in the early game.
In my opinion, in the mid, like, I want to go take a nap. Like, unless teams come right out of the, like, you really see those 2 to 3 solo kills of somebody maybe just being stupid.
Yeah,
maybe in the first 10 minutes. Like, really I only saw first blood drawn before 10 minutes, maybe once or twice.
Yeah, it's really not the lane fighting style that it's fun to watch. When we get these 1v1s between the laners. Right now, it's because of an item on the current patch, Ardent Sensor. It's very much we are going to put that item.
What does that do?
So the item, basically, you build it on your support. If the support shields or heals your AD carry or anybody in the game, it gives them a buff. And with the Ardent Sensor buff gives you attack speed, and it gives you a healing buff as well. So putting that on a late game AD carry in League of Legends is the current meta. Basically, you farm these AD carries who have no kill pressure whatsoever early in the game. But at the end of the game, we're talking like they get 3 items 30 minutes plus into the game. They can just steamroll through team fights, especially with this item. So that's the current meta, is basically building a team that can keep that one player alive and navigate the team fights late, which is why we're saying this meta is pretty boring to watch early.
But the team fights are so much fun at the end of the match.
At the end of the game, the team fights are pretty crazy, which makes it exciting.
This Worlds is going to go down as the team fights Worlds, because they are so exciting when they get to the end.
It's to the end. It's like you lose the one big team fight at the end of the game. You could lose the entire game just based. You're
done. That. I mean, SKT did that in their match against Misfits 2 nights ago in Game 4. Game 4, Misfits is very close to being able to knock out the best League of Legends team that has ever existed. And then Faker happened and came in and took 2 kills in a team fight. And everybody was like, whoop, what are we doing? Right. Hopping over a wall is not going to help you against SKT this year. And SKT was like, bye-bye, guys. Sorry. We forgot we're the best. They forgot they were the best for 2 games. They remembered. I mean, Faker even said it. He came out and said, I thought we were done. Like to have the best League of Legends player on the planet think that he's out of a tournament means he thinks he's out of a tournament. So full desperation mode for this SKT team turned into 2 straight wins to take Misfits out of the tournament and to secure their spot in the semifinals, which was so impressive because Misfits were just looking like, guys, we got him. Like they're sitting over there like, oh, we got him.
And to be fair, they were heavily criticized as the worst team possible, besides maybe 1907 Fenerbahce. They're being criticized as pretty much the worst team in the World's Championship as the 3 seed from Europe. And
EU is just not, and the fact that the 3 seed out of Europe at not your Edward game, not your
G2 esports,
not your G2 esports, or your
Fnatic made it out, but
Fnatic made it out, but you know you're expecting a Fnatic to make it out.
Yeah, but they weren't even convincing when they did make it out. It was a rough going for them.
It's so interesting watching how these games develop, in my opinion. Yeah. It's the strangest combination of watching. It's like watching soccer. You can see a team play 45 minutes of soccer or football wherever you live. We're in America, so we have the Major League Soccer League. So we will try. So you see League of Legends as this long, drawn out, you know, they can go 50-minute games sometimes. These team fights seem to be shortening the fights or matches to the sense of you lose the one at about the in between the 25 and 30-minute mark. If you lose that team fight, the whole, no matter who, no matter what the right.
You don't necessarily lose the game at that point, right. But it becomes such a substantial hill to climb that these teams find themselves not being able to come back if they mess up that macro play into that big team fight. So it's huge doing that. And Gigabyte Marines we were talking about, they decided we're not going to let it get to that point. We're going to take things into our own hands.
Right.
We're going to play instead of doing this late game scaling team comp. They're like, no, we're going to play early aggressive champions. We're going to get leads early in the game, not these stupid, you win the 25-minute team fight, get a lead. We're going to play, you get a lead at 5 minutes in the game by getting a kill, invading the enemy jungle. Or, I mean, what was the one game they had the level 6 Nocturne by 5 minutes in the game?
That was insane.
Nobody does that. First of all, they picked Nocturne in a competitive League of Legends games. That's already is insane.
I'm still waiting for my Space Dragon Aurelian Soul pick. When that happens, I will be taking shots.
Yesterday, and he didn't, and I was super sad. I really wanted Caps to pick it for Fnatic yesterday.
I love watching Aurelian Soul roll across a League of Legends field because it is just.
Who wants to see a fun champion to play? Go Google who he
Space Dragon,
and you'll get some fun games. Who he at MSI beat SKT with Aurelian Soul. Steamrolled these people. It was insane. So if you want a fun time to watch, just highlights, pull that up.
I'm really interested for not only the game tonight, hopefully C9 can pull it out because NA needs some representation in these semifinals. Because TSM, let's talk about disappointments.
Oh God.
I really feel like this is the time where TSM just needs to start over. Whatever they have,
everything. I mean, it's
besides Bjergsen, everybody could go.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue Hanser is fine.
Hanser, yep.
Ben doesn't like Hanser that much. Whenever he eventually, I don't know what Ben. Why aren't you in here? You're in the chat.
I added him. I added you twice, Ben. Come on in. Come join us.
He's in the YouTube chat. I don't know why he's not in here, but he doesn't like Hanser as much. But I think Hanser is a solid top laner. He does get his advantages, and he is pretty consistent most of the time. We're not going to talk about his Jace game against Misfits to lose the knockout match to get into the next round, but I think those two players, Bjergsen and Hanser, are the most stable, at least. Biofrost has showings of brilliance. I mean, there's a reason people call him Bio Daddy. It's because he carries those children on TSM some games. And then Double Lift, who just I don't know what it is about
everything should work. Like everything should, like,
on paper,
it should work. Like on paper, that team is so like it should be so good.
Exactly. On paper, that is statistically.
Hey, all right, we got Ben
There
in here.
he is.
There he is.
What is up?
For everybody that does not know, this is our boy Benjamin the Dead Dorito Hepner. Say hello, Ben.
How you doing?
How's it going, dude?
You guys got me off my stream for this lovely event.
Dude, are you advertising the meta on your stream?
I could.
You should definitely. You should stream this on your stream. Let's get this rolling.
Hold on. Let me get this. Start streaming. We'll throw this up on the big screen.
Dude, start it up on the big. There we go. So while he's doing that, like Colin, back to Double Lift. What is it about Double Lift and international competitions and not showing up? I mean, the man is just every single time he seems to get on the big stage, similar to Bjergsen, they never have that moment that's like, you don't look back on it years later, like Expeke's backdoor or, West or solo killing Faker in lane. Like there's never these big moments. It's always just, oh, Double Lift, this world specifically, oh, Double Lift still had sums after that fight where he got caught again. Like little things like he should never mess up. It's I don't understand. Like, help me grasp this.
I agree.
It really seems like everything should work out. Like
right?
it doesn't. Like I don't understand. Like is it really just the pressure? Because I was in San Francisco last year for groups, and in that arena, it was like I know once you come to NA and everybody's in NA, it's really NA against the world when it comes to the teams. Like it doesn't matter who it is. You can say you root for TSM and you can say that you root for Cloud9, but if TSM and Cloud9 aren't playing each other,
who cares?
Who cares? I'm gonna root for NA, and I see it feels like every time TSM gets under that pressure, they falter. They falter. Like when it's NA on NA and it's the regular season, it doesn't matter. But as soon as you throw these Korean and unfortunately EU teams in there, which shouldn't be the case because NA, in my opinion, is stronger than the EU when it comes to
they showed that
top
teams
Rivals
this year too.
Right?
Like, they destroyed at Rift Rivals. Ben, so, what do you think about this with Double Lift, Bjergsen, and TSM?
At this point, I think Double Lift has reached the point of washed up. I don't think he has the mechanics to.
Do you know how old he is off the top of your head?
I want to say he's 24, 25, somewhere around there.
In league terms, he's pretty old though. He would be considered an OG player.
Yeah, he's not as old as Lemon Nation, but he's at least as old as High.
And yeah,
these are people that are they're ancient to the scene at this point. Like,
because I mean, we're what 7 seasons in now.
Yeah, 7
and they've been playing for pretty much all of them at least.
Yeah, they've been like every single person have been playing since like League of Legends was in beta, probably. Like,
you've been playing since it was in beta.
Yeah. Well, I haven't.
God bless.
No,
I was about to say.
No, not us. We're talking these guys that are pros that pretty much built their own brands.
Yeah, like
just to ask, how long have you two been playing League respectively?
I
started in season 4.
Yeah.
So we're in season 7. So you guys are both going like 3 years.
Yeah.
How much has the game in terms of the pro scene? What's the biggest difference between the scene now as opposed to the scene 3 years ago?
Jungle.
Yeah, I think the jungle is one of the main differences.
I would say.
In what sense?
So one thing they did, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 seasons ago, they completely revamped the entire League of Legends map. They call it the Rift for anybody who's not familiar. So they completely revamped the Rift. They made new jungle camps. They changed what old jungle camps did. And they made it easier for champions in the game to clear the jungle, basically defining the jungler role. Previously, you had a jungler, but their job was much less of farming the jungle than it is now. They were almost like with 2v2 in lanes, they would gank so much. Whereas now you
And
can
gank for those who don't know would be to sneak up on the enemy champion unsuspectingly and attack them.
yeah, basically, ganking is the whole idea of getting a 2v1 advantage. You're trying to put numbers on your side. But so nowadays the jungle is different. It gives you more opportunities to keep leveled up as a jungler. You're more relevant in the game. It makes you much more valuable in team fighting. You're not basically a second support in the game. That's my opinion, at least, on it. They also introduced new dragons and the Rift Herald to the jungle, which makes the game also more macro heavy, because these are more objectives that give you certain bonuses that you might want to change your macro game around. So you focus those objectives more than maybe pushing a tower or going in for a dive bot lane, get some kills. That's how I look at it. What about you, Ben?
I think it has gone from it has expanded the jungle pool exponentially, because when you think of junglers back in the day, it was a lot more about their gank assist and whether they had the ability to cause some sort of CC when they would come into a lane. Now there is a lot more like variability in the champion selection, because you can actually get champions that farm more in the jungle and then come out of the jungle as a powerhouse, as opposed to, rather than just attempting to get kills on your laners.
Yeah, so for example, I would say old junglers, Maokai. You look at Maokai, he's got 2 forms of gank assist, technically 3 now that they reworked him. Back in the day, it was 2. But now, Ben was saying these junglers that can farm in the jungle now, they don't necessarily have to have that gank assist. Things like Shyvana, Master Yi, Xin Zhao is a little gank assist, but he would be one. Nocturne, a lot more of these assassin type junglers who don't necessarily have that crowd control to help your laner get the kill during the gank. You bring more.
One that I think is a lot that is really into today's current meta is Kayn in blue form.
Yeah.
You literally Kayn has such AoE abilities in the jungle that he can clear camps super easy. And once he gets the camps cleared, he really just goes and ganks because he really doesn't have anything else to do.
And that's one champion we actually saw being abused by Gigabyte Marines in some of their games. They were pulling out early leads in.
Good old Levi. Good old Levi
pulling out the Kayn.
Levi was strong.
Yeah, Levi is easily one of the better junglers that was in Worlds this year for sure.
He's the dude that runs around with the big gun,
the big scythe.
Thing. Yeah, the big scythe looking thing. Yeah, but he can also be ranged. He has ranged attacks as well, right? You can work him to be.
He has 2 forms. He has one form that's like a shadow assassin, where his damage output is just kind of increased, and his other form is more of like a tank CC orientation, where he's a little
crowd control.
Yeah, CC crowd control. So things that stop the enemy champions from moving, basically. So if you go tank red Kayn, you are this CC bot who has a lot of healing, a lot more health and utility. If you go shadow Kayn, you're trying to one-shot people. You're doing as much damage as physically possible.
It also alters the basic effects of certain abilities. Like blue Kayn, you can keep moving after you've cast his W, whereas in red Kayn, you're rooted onto the ground when you're casting W. So you can keep the mobility of which the W does a slow, but it's a knock-up in red form.
Yeah, so I mean that champion's very much pick choose what kind of fighting you want to do. Are you looking for these burst kills, or are you looking for this more team fighting, sustained damage peel kind of? And what we mean by peel, for anyone that doesn't know, is peel is keeping enemy players off of your carries. So that would be what peel is. So you use your abilities to keep your teammates safe, would be peel. But so it's really, do you want to be this insta kill somebody, or do you want to be keeping your carry safe, extend the team fight, that kind of thing?
I think we're in an interesting place coming up with the semifinals, to where I think Samsung Galaxy's got a really good shot to be whoever wins tonight.
They do. They really do.
Tomorrow morning.
They honestly have the easiest route to the finals, if we're gonna say it outright. If C9 wins, they're the 3rd seed from North America. They actually lost in knockouts last year to Samsung Galaxy.
Yes, they did.
The good part about it, though, is Samsung is one of those teams that is easy to upset.
They're streaky.
They're very easy to upset. When I've watched them in groups, they had a consistent performance in week 2, but week 1 they had on and off games. All of their games were super close. Now, whether that's not being able to feel out the meta in week 1 or something along those lines, that's something else entirely. But them being that team, they're always gonna 9 times out of 10 they're gonna play the meta. I don't think they really have any surprise picks for whoever they play against, though.
I think
Space
that also
Dragon.
Right? We want to see the Space Dragon.
But I want to see a Space Dragon.
I think it also, like Ben said, I think they are the easier team to upset compared to SK Telecom or RNG.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they don't show the adaptation. Like we were talking about the meta shifts in the current patch, and then the meta happens. We talked about these Ardent Sensor AD carries, late game team fighting. That's what the meta is. That's what it was defined in week 1 and 2 of groups. All of a sudden, this week rolls around, knockouts, week 1 knockouts. The meta is already shifting to things that can beat these late game scaling team comps, and Gigabyte Marines were the first ones to do that. They showed everybody, maybe this aggressive early play style can actually shut down these late scaling comps. And we're seeing that with Caitlyn picks, Tristana picks. We saw one of the craziest series ever between Misfits and SK Telecom 2 nights ago, where they picked like Leona Triss bot lane, and it was insane to watch.
The 2v the not only Leona, but fervor of battle.
Fervor of thing just to get that little bit of extra damage to shut down that scaling team comp they were playing against. Like that little bit of extra damage won them the 2v2 in the bot lane, got them ahead, and they won that game. That was one of the reasons Misfits was up 2-1 over SKT.
Your boy Ignar showing that Lulu, Janna, and Soraka are not the only supports in this meta.
Yeah, absolutely. And like
and
we were
Misfits
saying,
was doing their best to steal Barons, and they were doing it well.
Yeah,
Ivern,
and
that Ivern going in with his
was unreal.
Yeah, oof, that was insane to watch. The fact
we haven't seen many Baron steals this tournament.
Not too many, no.
Because it hasn't been in
we
the
got
meta.
another one last night, though.
We did get another one last night.
Which we're seeing, like, is that the way to beat SKT? Are RNG just sitting there rewatching those 2 Misfits wins, seeing what they did, how they did it, and breaking them down?
When I'm watching that, all I see is Wolf and Bang not playing to the level of SKT.
Right.
That is Wolf and Bang just not playing to the level that they need to be playing to. Wolf is single-handedly one of the best supports in the world, and he is not playing to his ability.
He seems just like such a nice guy, too. He seems so.
What I love about Wolf is that he always looks like he's asleep.
He always does. He's just chilling at the end of the table. He's like, I'm here, guys. I know what I'm doing. Right. And then you don't know what you're doing. And then you get a Baron stolen from you. And then the whole game shifts. And you're like, well, I don't know what to do now.
I think a lot of it has to do with what their vision control around Baron was.
Yeah.
They didn't. I feel like SKT disrespected Misfits in the fact that they didn't realize they are an LCS team and that they are going to have vision control. That Ignar is one of the better supports in the world right now. He's not. I wouldn't say he's top 5, but he's at least top 10.
And he's making his name known now. Like people know who Ignar is in the league scene after that game or that series.
TSM, take notice.
To be fair, Colin,
TSM doesn't need it. TSM has Biofrost.
Quick side point, though.
Was just playing legit supports that he could engage on that game. I think they could have won their series.
Yeah. But quick side note on that. Ignar actually came in second place for the TSM support spot to Biofrost.
Yep.
Oh,
That's a little known fact that Ignar actually tried out for TSM and came in second for that role.
well.
I think
I don't think it would have
Biofrost.
helped.
I think Biofrost is not the problem on TSM.
No, it's between what would you say, Ben? We talked about this the other day.
Honestly,
Coaching,
I think it was drafting in 100%. Their drafting was a huge problem, which is why Parth is already gone. He's gone.
I saw rumors he might not actually be leaving.
I don't
so
think
we'll
he's
see,
leaving.
but
I don't think he's leaving the org. I don't think he's going to be
maybe just stepping down as head coach.
I don't think he's going to be head coach. I think they'll keep him on as either A, an analyst, or B, something behind the scenes.
Yeah.
VOD work or something along those. Because he's a good viewer of the game, but his adaptation, he goes in with a set plan, but when that plan goes awry, he doesn't have the adaptation on stage to make the extra calls. That the Jace pick in that final game is what shows you it is he didn't have it going. There was a number of carry top laners that you could have put up there. I believe Trundle was banned, but Trundle and Cho'Gath, Trundle wins that matchup 9 times out of 10.
And theoretically the Jace pick should have won that matchup as well, but they didn't play around it. That is your win condition.
Yep.
So, that's one of TSM's flaws.
They left Haunter on an island, which is 9 times out of 10 fine. Haunter's going to get
this island turned out to be Hawaii during Pearl Harbor, though.
But I don't. Who were they playing? Max? Was it Maxlore?
Maxlore on Sejuani destroyed.
He was literally living in top lane.
Yeah,
there was no chance that at some point you have to look at Svenskeren and have to say, "Brother Svenskeren, could you please come top?"
Right, just please.
He's straight getting the direst treatment, and he just can't. There's no way you can play against it. There's no way a carry who's going to naturally push the lane can actually play the game if there's going to be 2 people in his lane 9 times out of 10, and he gets no assistance. At some point, you have to go up there and help the man.
So we're looking at SKT playing RNG in the first matchup. Does RNG have a chance here if they're? I mean, SKT showed that the Russian could be cut. I mean,
for sure.
I honestly would go into that series with RNG as the favorites over SKT.
I 100% agree. Even with SKT final or semifinals buff, I don't know if they're going to be able to. With how Bang and Wolf are playing, they're going to just get outclassed by
Uzi
and
I think it's Ming, right?
Ming, yeah. Ming is easily. I think he is actually in the top 5 for best players in the world for all the casters, top 20 players in the world right now. I just don't see if Wolf and Bang play the way they did against Misfits, SKT is sure to lose that. I don't care what pick they give Faker, he won't be able to carry that team.
He can only rise to the occasion so many times.
Fun. He's actually undefeated.
Yeah, he's undefeated when he plays his Rise. At international events.
Oh, is it really international?
Ban it.
I thought it was
international event. International
ban it.
Yeah. He is undefeated.
RNG strategy: ban Rise and win.
Right, ban Rise and win. But I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, the meta shift. We're talking about the other matchup on the other side. Can C9? Well, first of all, C9 has to beat WE, and then whoever wins that game plays Samsung, right? We were talking about Samsung not adapting to the meta. WE and C9 have both shown in week 2 of groups they're willing to adapt to the meta. They're willing to play the Caitlyn in the bot lane. They're willing to play Ezreal, Kayn jungle, things like that. The Rek'Sai jungle, these early leads. We haven't seen Samsung adapt like that. And honestly, they didn't really play anything outrageous against Longzhu, the Korean 1 seed. They really didn't. They just played better macro, better team fighting, and they won the game.
They played better Korean League of Legends.
They did. I mean, it was standard League of Legends for the Korean 1 seed. I mean, they were playing the carry. Like, Longzhu Gaming style is the carry top laners. Khan is a beast. He didn't play very well in that series, but he didn't play great, but it was this very standard matchup. Both teams played their strengths. Neither adapted to what we're seeing these other teams busting out to win games. So it's going to be interesting. Whoever wins from Cloud9 or WE, like Ben said earlier, they actually do have a good shot at upsetting Samsung because of the fact they're willing to show they can play these off-meta styles, things that can get them ahead early or counter these late-game carrying styles that Samsung Galaxy likes to play.
I agree. I think Samsung has a real good chance of dropping 3 games to either one.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if C9 finally pulled this out? I mean, is it just not an NA victory if getting to the semifinals is a victory for NA in itself?
Oh, absolutely.
But getting to the finals, yes. NA would lose its mind.
Yeah, guaranteed. Cloud9 would go down in the history books, and so would Contracts.
Yeah,
so
Contracts. He's a rookie.
He is a rookie jungler. He's had 2 splits. And in his second split, which is spring split this year, he is going to quarterfinals of Worlds.
Yeah, he was statistically, I think, one of the best junglers in NA too.
I think that is going to be the one matchup, honestly, that is going to tilt this C9 WE game. I think if Contracts plays up to Contracts level, he will be able to
we see him
hard carry. I think he'll be able to straight hard carry the game. Like,
does that mean you have to see them putting impact on things like Galio Shen so that he constantly has that backup, or do you think he's good enough to play without that kind of leash on him?
Honestly, I think you have to have the Galio Shen. Honestly, I don't know if you necessarily need those specific. You're gonna need the heavy tank top, which is Impact's specialty first of all, and because he's the shield of C9.
Yep.
Their spears in North America dealing with some issues, but
no, he's actually with them. But
is Ray actually there?
Ray is there with him. He's just not playing.
Honestly, I think if Contracts can get on a playmaker, he will be 9 times out of 10 more influential in this series. Even if he is on a Sejuani or a Gragas,
there's still
as long as he plays up to Contracts level, he's going to be fine, and they're going to win this because WE's jungler, I can't remember. Yeah, Condi. He's good, but I just don't see him. I just don't see him like actually being able to
win the 1v1. I think
win the 1v1 and 2 make as much like influential like plays as Contracts. Yeah. I think also who's their top laner? I don't remember.
It's like 957. I think
957. That is the one lane that they're going to have to pay attention to because I think 957 actually has the potential to carry because every game I see him on, even a Cho'Gath or something, he's playing up to the level of whoever he's playing and exceeding it.
So one thing to throw out about Condi real fast in that jungle matchup we're talking about, Condi most played junglers this Worlds, Gragas and Sejuani, 8 games of Gragas and Sejuani combined.
And I mean, if they honestly ban out these tank junglers,
all he's got left, at least that he's shown, is Ezreal.
I just don't see, and his Ezreal performance wasn't,
like he did win both games he played on Ezreal, but he didn't necessarily carry those games on Ezreal.
They weren't memorable games from the Ezreal jungle. When I think of Ezreal jungle this Worlds, I'm thinking of Xmithy from Immortals. He was popping off on Ezreal jungle this Worlds.
Week 1 Worlds. We're not going to talk about it.
Okay, we're not going to talk about week 2. We're not going to talk about the full Cody son, okay?
Oh my God, Cody son.
Young Cody son. We're not going to talk about that.
So let's make a pick. WE or C9?
According to my pick'ems, I got C9 making it through.
I concur with that. I also have C9 making it past.
All right, we got C9 sweeping it just because I have a hard time rooting against North America in this situation.
Honestly, when you look at the matchup, it's so even. Either team could take it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. And at this point, that's what you want. You don't want
for sure.
And that's I enjoy watching C9 play. I think they always have that potential to just steamroll the opponent, but then at the same time, they are one of the most steamrollable teams. It seems like in the past couple worlds, like whenever they get to the quarters, knockouts, semis, it's the curse of the NA. I don't know what else NA can do, and
get more Korean players.
Exactly. Like what else besides getting more Korean players? Like maybe relocate to Canada so you can pull a better healthcare system and maybe try to get these guys out of China and Korea.
Get this mental health care like taken care of, Maybe it's a mental thing.
We can build your team houses in Los Angeles, guys. I don't know if you've ever been to LA as opposed to Seoul, but I feel like LA is a better city.
That's where you got to look at all these NBA teams getting in here.
We're gonna talk about that. Yeah, let's move into that
just a little bit. So
I like that lead in. So we've seen over the past couple days that the NALCS, that's the North American League
Championship Series.
They've opened up to franchising for new members. So we've seen the Cleveland Cavaliers bought a spot and the Golden State Warriors bought a spot, and that knocked out
and
a couple.
Is backed by I want to say it's Milwaukee.
I believe so. I believe the Bucks. Yeah, I believe the Bucks were the ones getting in on that.
Yeah,
which
and Houston
to me is interesting as well. Yeah, and Houston did as well. That was the other team. So, Michael, can you walk me through, or walk everybody here through, how exactly the LCS goes about deciding what new teams are allowed in, and what makes it so that these teams that have been main cast members in the NALCS are no longer going to be there?
Weird. So basically, they're changing to this franchising format. Previously, there used to be relegations, kind of like many soccer leagues, the relegation tournaments that you have to go into if you're a bottom tier team. But now they're trying to kind of shy away from that almost in NALCS by doing these franchising teams. You buy your spot's pretty much guaranteed, unless some crazy circumstances occur. Now, how do you get these spots? That's the big question here, because there's only 10 of them to go around, which is not a lot. And the way you do get these spots, the very first thing you have to do is a flat $10 million buy-in. And that's for existing NALCS organizations. So anybody who is currently in the NALCS, flat $10 million buy-in.
That's not cheap.
That's not cheap at all. Newcomers had to pay $13 million to get in.
Yeah, but when the newcomers are the Cavs and the Warriors and the Rockets,
maybe 13 million is not so crazy, but
yeah, it's not. Yeah, they'll spend that on a backup point guard these days.
So it's still a hefty chunk of money overall, though.
I'll never see
just
$13
to buy in on the spot. So that's what you have to buy in, and then they have the option. They have an option to do a payment plan if they so choose to. Whatever, I'm sure most of them just paid it off up front. But then this also, I believe they're going to have yearly dues that's going to come along with this. I do not have anything up on, are they going to have to pay $1 million a year every year after that to keep their spot? But the initial buy-in, 10, 13 million, depending on if you were there before or not. So that's like the base, what you have to do. Now, assuming you have that $10 million to throw at the North American LCS scene, you first have to submit an application to Riot Games NA. So what does this do? You have to have a brand plan. What is your brand going to be? How are you going to engage with fans? How are you going to gain fans? Because you got to think about it. There's already established teams that have fans. How are you going to pull fans from these teams to root for you? Or how are you going to make new fans? That kind of stuff. Who are your owners going to be? How are you going to work with the pro players? Are you going to have pro players input in the ownership? former players in the LCS? Are you going to be, hiring people to come on? Do you already have knowledge? Are you an owner that already has knowledge of esports, like TSM Reginald, Liquid? I think it's Liquid Steve, right, Ben?
Liquid, yep, paid by Steve.
Yeah, paid by Steve, baby. But are you one of these guys who already has the knowledge behind them, or are you going to bring people in? Then the next thing is their business plan, very similar to their brand plan. How are you going to fund your organization? How are you going to make money? How are you going to bring in sponsorships? Things like that. Then the final thing they're looking for in these submit applications is your team strategy. How do you intend to develop your talent? Because one of the biggest shifts here is they want teams to invest in their players. They want teams to develop new players. They want teams to buy in on this fact. It's not just kids playing video games. These are individuals that can be developed. They can get better. How are they going to do that?
Do you see that maybe be trying to extend the length of time that these kids are playing, not kids, but that these people are playing the game, these people are playing professionally?
I think that could very well be a reason.
Because what you hear most of the time is that the average age of a pro, the average time span that a person is professionally playing a game is from about 18 to 20, 23 is the average age. And then they just kind of skirt on and, live their life.
I honestly don't think it's because all of a sudden their mechanics got poor.
Your fingers don't change much from 23 to 24.
When you think about it, when you're 25 years old versus 23 years old, is there honestly that big a difference? Probably not. These guys, they just new people come in, these new flashy young guys who are like, they're a one trick on this one champion. They're super clean on it. And they're like, all right, maybe he should be starting versus this guy we've had in the organization for a while. He's getting old 25, for esports. But, that could be a reason. It could also be a reason that they want to develop more talent in North America. Because remember, this is specifically for the North American LCS they're doing. And North America has a fairly, just on a side note, fairly unhealthy player development in terms of teams don't really develop players. We haven't had a really brand new team in NALCS since Cloud9.
And that's kind of what is interesting, is intriguing to me, is where these new franchises go in terms of, you already, like we'll talk about in a little bit, the Overwatch League is pulling established teams to roster their city teams.
Yeah.
Whereas now the Warriors have a spot, the Cavs have a spot, and the Rockets have a spot, but there's no team there. So what do these organizations have to do to go out and get players and make themselves appealing to current players to bring them into their organization?
What's most likely going to happen, in my opinion, is going to be the classic North American thing. The history of North America is pretty much whenever a team disbands, you can almost guarantee that almost that entirely exact same team will be the team that replaces them. I mean, when Immortals came into the league, they're no longer in the league. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But when they first came into the league, I don't really consider them a new team because when they first came in, they had Huni, they had Rainover, they had Pobelter. I think they had Wild Turtle when they first came in, right, Ben?
Yep.
So it's like these are all familiar faces in either EU LCS or NALCS that they just bring in. That's why I'm saying the big thing they're looking for in these applications is the developing talent. So your question, Colin, what are these new teams going to do? Are they going to pull the classic NA? All right, well, these three teams got kicked out of LCS because we bought the spots. Do we just take their players? Or do we go out and find the young talent and see if we can develop anybody?
Have you seen that Meteos may
come back? The return of Meteos.
Yeah, dude, the return of Meteos. I think that's going to be their first issue is finding the player talent in NA. Because honestly, you can only have one or
I think
two.
It's two import slots, I think, is available.
You have two import slots. That means two people from outside Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. That's it. 2 people that can come from outside of there.
To count as an import, or to not count it as an import slot, I believe you have to be in the region for 2 years.
Yeah.
Before you don't count as a import slot.
Yep. And I think you have to be actually like playing League of Legends in
active.
some
you
level.
have to be actively playing in some capacity.
Yeah. And the thing is with that, I just don't see the talent in NA to fill out 10 5-man rosters, not including subs, 10 5-man rosters, plus you have to have the academy team, which I just don't. I mean, academy is going to be just watching a bunch of challenger players, pretty much. That's what I think academy is going to devolve it down into. Like when I think of academy now, I think of training grounds. I think of Omar God being picked up from there, and I think of Delta Fox, who was literally just a bunch of meme.
It's a meme team.
Streamers.
That's what Delta Fox is.
It was a meme
pro
stream.
players.
Old pro players that wanted to come and play, and mess around. And honestly, if they don't have enough talent to actually fill out all of these teams without it being, a requirement, how are they going to find the talent to fill it out when it is a requirement?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's the
Michael. So you're the owner of the Warriors' new franchise.
Yeah.
What is your first order of business after finding out that you've secured a spot?
Buy Immortals.
Pretty much. I mean, honestly, Ben has it almost spot on. You look at the notable free, because this is like I said earlier, it's the history of NA. Who are the free agents in NA? Which team just disbanded and how do I get their players? That's how North America has always run their split. So you're going to look at the teams that just got kicked out. So who just got kicked out? We got Immortals got kicked out. They just made it to Worlds as the 2nd seed, right? They're a pretty damn good team if they made it to Worlds as the 2nd
Ole
seed.
being one of the best supports in NA, hands down.
Yeah. And so
are you going to see the big difference being that one of these new teams is going to buy Immortals, set themselves in not necessarily, and maybe not be one of the top like in the C9 TSM tier that will say they're in the top 2.
They'll win games.
They'll win games, and then what you'll see is that the Cavs, whatever the Cavs team becomes, and whatever the Rockets team becomes, whatever these new teams become, you're going to see one of them probably just throw a team together, and I think you're really going to see maturity from one of these new organizations, and then you're going to see how much people see that there's a big barrier. There's a big learning gap for these organizations.
Yeah,
I mean, these are professional sports organizations. There's a big difference in rostering 12 men for a whole season of basketball, and then there aren't trades. There's no, you don't have a GM for you do in a sense of your manager and your owners, talking about what players you have on your League of Legends squad, as opposed to your GM who's wheeling and dealing trades and dealing with contracts on a daily basis. So I think these new teams it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top sooner rather than the team. Like I have a feeling that one of these new teams is going to be the bottom feeders for a couple seasons, and then you're going to have one of them make the big, one of them's going to do it right. And I mean, I'm a Warriors fan.
One of them's going to make a playoff run. It's guaranteed.
I think whoever buys the Immortals infrastructure that they had currently there, 2, the team that Immortals had, and 3, is able to find a coach that is useful enough and helpful enough to the players to be able to help them. Whoever helps whoever helps their players the most is going to be who is going to be successful.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like we said, it's going to be pretty much a free-for-all, first and foremost, for the Immortals lineup. They're, without a doubt, the best team to get kicked out. Then it's between, who can you pick up out of Dignitas, Envy, and Phoenix One? who of those rosters are worthy of, shelling out the money to try and coerce. And you're going to look at them. You're going to look at Dignitas someday, the top laner from Korea. You're going to look at Team Envy, Lyra, their jungler, Phoenix One's jungler, Mike Young. Both of those two guys are probably going to be fairly sought after.
Ryu will probably actually find, because there's not a lot of good available mid laners.
Arrow and Ryu probably. Arrow for AD carry for some of these new teams is going to be pretty highly sought after, and Ryu for mid lane. He's a consistent mid laner from Phoenix One. But I mean, that's pretty much what it's going to be, because like we said, it's the Challenger series. Just there's a reason no new teams have gotten into the NALCS from Challenger in a while, and it's because the talent's not there. I mean,
you telling me my boy Zazel is not up to snuff with LCS supports?
Zazel is something, and it's not LCS ready.
So what's the timetable for these teams in terms of getting their?
They'll be ready to go next split.
Yeah, they have
that's so impressive to me. Like when you hear that a team is moving, just like a team's moving from, let's say, San Diego to Los Angeles.
Lol.
That's almost 12 to 14, maybe 16 months in advance that you find out about something like that. And these teams are doing this they just bought those spots this week. Within Tuesday and Wednesday, they secured those spots.
Yeah,
you're telling me they're probably going to have rosters before the end of November.
Yeah, maybe even before that, to be honest, for some of them.
The ones who get it together, that's what we'll see. We'll see the teams who get it together quick.
Whoever moves quick, we'll see.
You know who's gonna have the best part? Whoever throws the right amount of money at I'm a Cutie Pie, Michael Santana. That will be who.
Bring back the Cutie Pie.
That will be who.
The rank one.
He's ranked 4th now.
Shut up. He was rank 1.
MLXG Blade was playing during BTR this week and kicked him out of rank 1.
That's funny. But I mean, think about it from this side though, Colin. Team Immortals, right? Imagine you are the Golden State Warriors. Maybe not. Well, since they're the 2 seed, we'll go with the Cleveland Cavaliers, since they were technically, I guess, the number 2 in the league last year. Imagine you're the Cleveland Cavaliers. You qualify for like the World Championships, the NBA Finals. You lose in the finals. All right, I made it to the NBA Finals. That's pretty damn good, right? We'll be fine next season. And then all of a sudden, you're not a team anymore. That's what just happened to these teams, especially Immortals. So it's like...
That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. That you're successful and
have the investments and backing.
Right.
I mean,
right, exactly.
That's like what happened with that. That's like, I don't know. I'm not a huge NBA fan, but who would you say is the FlyQuest equivalent, Michael?
Oh, the FlyQuest equivalent. Oh God, who has all the old guys? All right, Colin, this is a question for you. So, who in the NBA has all of the veterans on their team, and they just
joke? The answer is the Cleveland Cavaliers right now.
Like, they're gonna make the playoffs just because they have the veterans, but then they're also gonna shit the bed in a lot of games because they're old. That's FlyQuest.
The only team that really went out and got a bunch of vets.
I think they're the same Spurs.
No, they're more like the Patriots, like because they're always there.
They're always going to be around, but eventually
I would say a team that rostered a lot of. The team that rostered a lot of vets this year was the Cavs. They went out and got Derrick Rose. And Isaiah Thomas, and they kind of brought in, they went from a 20-something team to a late 20 to early 30-something team. So
that's pretty much FlyQuest. And I mean, I almost guarantee the only reason FlyQuest made it through is because High pulled some crazy sponsorship magic out of his butt. That man is never not going to be in the NALCS. He is timeless. Like High will always be timeless. His wrist is not timeless. That is a gaming injury that will haunt him forever. But he will always be in the NALCS, right?
Yep.
But that's just High.
Yeah, I think honestly, with the amount of backing that these NBA teams will have, as long as they get a proper infrastructure for their team environment, they'll do well in the. Hey, you can't do worse than Team Liquid. Like, let's be real here.
You can't go to relegations and then have to buy your way out of relegations. That's pretty bad.
We have
And
to
what I
buy
kind of see
out
happening,
part of a contract just to
I kind of
stay in.
see the war. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
No, we're just saying they basically bought Double Lift. They loaned out Double Lift so Liquid didn't get relegated.
Yep.
So you can't get much lower than that.
And I think it's gonna be interesting to see how these teams that aren't in California make it play out, because it's really easy for the Warriors organization to say, yeah, we're gonna set you up with this dope house and the Oakland Hills.
All of these teams will be based in LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because
they have
it's
to make the
Cleveland buying in,
and that's where the arena is. They have the arena,
the arena is already established in LA. It's not. That's the difference between this and the Overwatch League we're going to talk about a little later. Is these aren't actually city-based teams, despite Cleveland, Houston, Golden State buying in.
They're just the backing.
They're just majority stakeholders. They're just the backing. It's still going to be all LA-based teams.
Well, then I think it'll be even easier for these three teams then, because they definitely have more money at their back than any of these other League of Legends teams. TSM, Cloud9, they do not have the backing of a professional sports organization.
I don't know, honestly. Nowadays, when I look at CLG, I have jerseys from CLG. You look at the amount of sponsors that they have behind them.
I can give you a list right now of some major sponsors for these.
They have the C9 sponsor list is insane.
Yeah, when the amount of sponsors that they have behind them, I would not put it past them to say they have at least as much buying power as these NBA teams.
No, I have very hard to believe when an NBA team is paying one person $30 million a year and multiple people over $20 million a year. That money is not in a League of Legends team.
But
you have to roster 12 people that are making over $2 million a year at the very minimal.
But how much money are they going to throw at their esports team?
Oh, well, a shell of that. They could just throw 20 million. Like, they make 20 million off jersey sales this year. Let's throw an extra 20 million into our team. And I guess it all depends on how much these teams are actually going to care. But I'm looking at this like Cloud9 is sponsored by Twitch, Logitech, HTC, Red Bull, MSI, Intel, Crunchyroll, an anime streaming website, HyperX, and T-Mobile.
They're also backed by. They're actually also backed by Joe Montana's a notable backer. The Golden State's co-owner.
That came in for the Overwatch League, which I think that bit him in the butt, because what he saw was that Cloud9 was a team based out of San Jose. That's where they started, and that was the Bay Area team. And Joe was like, "All right, let's throw some money at these guys." Yep. And then their Overwatch League team is not C9. C9 ends up being the London Overwatch team. So these guys are like, "What did you guys just get me into? Because this doesn't sound like what I was signing up for."
Right, but he's a backer for Cloud9 in general. The Golden State Warriors co-owner,
Joe Lacob.
No, the other one.
Okay.
Kameth, however you pronounce the last name. And then one of the Reddit co-founders actually backs him too. But they, to put it money-wise, they actually raised $25 million in sponsorships just in preparation for this.
That's insane.
So, I mean, the money is there for some of these teams, regardless of whether they're backed by the NBA.
Yeah, I think it's for them, those teams, to shell out that massive sum, like say your house, like your house, your player house, something happens to it. It's way easier for the Warriors to go, "Oh yeah, sure, let's fix that real quick," and then these guys, other organizations, are like, "Oh, let's count the numbers real quick and see what we can actually do to help get by." Warriors are like, "Oh, we'll just buy a new house. It's fine."
See, the good part about a lot of these sponsors, though, is that they give so much of what that org is using, because like when you look at it, 5 Hour Energy, I know, is one of like the big sponsors for CLG, and they actually gave them fridges that they all use. They gave them all this other stuff that they all use, and then they get sponsored by like CyberPower PC, who like literally just builds all of the PCs for the players. So, I mean, when you think about it, you just have to say, like, how much, like, honestly, are they, like, really going to have to spend, because their sponsor will just send them another, PC,
Oh, for sure.
Anything like that. Like, at some point, you just have to say, well, it's not really, like, money that they're making. It's really more just stuff that they're getting.
I totally agree with that. So speaking of money, I really enjoyed that league talk. It got real deep. It got real sweaty. And then we kind of broke down what is coming.
Oh, dude. All right. I actually have some numbers for you real fast before we get on topic.
I love numbers.
So I found Cloud9's roster summary off of their esports earnings. So Cloud9's total prize money earned so far in their history is over $5 million, just prize winnings. Currently, their League of Legends, they pay their League of Legends players about $1 million for just that roster, which, like you said, Colin, is not nearly as much as an NBA star.
Do they spread that out evenly, or are
I
players
don't know exactly how. They probably have individual contracts. I don't know exactly how that's all, divvied up, but they have between their. I mean, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. They have 22 different games they sponsor. So, I mean, there's a decent bit of money spread out between all these games.
It's just unreal, guys. Could you imagine if there was a Mario Kart League in 1996? Or Mario Kart 2?
Smash Bros. Melee does have stuff.
It's just a bunch of, right? That's where Melee came in. And Melee was one of those games where you're just like, I could watch this all day.
Yeah, Melee. Watching Smash Bros. Melee, the some of the things that those guys do are just outrageous.
I've been at a live Street Fighter tournament at this awesome gaming bar in San Francisco, and that was one of the most intense things I have ever seen in my entire life.
Insane to watch. Some of
they bring in their own pads.
Yeah,
they all bring in their own.
Some of those guys do. Oof. That's a lot of time that they put in on those.
Just a button mashing. I'll go to the arcade and button mash till my heart bleeds out. Yeah, and then these guys are like, we're not button mashing. This is strategic button mash. Yeah, it's not flying. This is falling with style.
Yeah, literally that's what it is. They've learned literally every combo for every character pretty much. It's insane that they know like all these interactions between two moves, and like when you watch some of those guys, you can respect just by how they're playing how much time they must have. Yeah, how much time they must have put in just to get those to look the way they do.
I imagine that the perfect Street Fighter tournament for me is having the full screen, and then in the bottom left and the bottom right hand corner, there's a camera over their game pads.
Yeah,
right? And you can just see that, and their hands are just like just going wild, and that would be almost as entertaining as watching the actual fight.
Dude, I think it's funny that they still play those games on CRTVs just to get rid of that slight input lag that you get with like HDMI cables. I think it blows my mind that they still do that.
LAN parties, baby. The LAN party will never die.
Right?
As long as esports are a thing, the LAN party will never die.
As long as fighting games are a thing, LAN parties will never die.
Yeah, because that little bit of lag will just absolutely crush you.
Playing on zero ping.
So probably the thing to me that is the most promising in terms of esports coming up starting in December is the Overwatch League. I'm an avid Overwatch player. I've been playing Overwatch since the beta. I love it. It is so much fun. And now Blizzard is finally getting into controlling their own games esports division, where they are going to be hands-on everything, controlling everything, player contracts. They want a draft. They want free agents. They want this to be a real sports league. And to someone who is an avid sports fan, like myself, like Michael, like that is extremely appealing. that they want to take an already established approach to the esports business model. They're going to set up 12 teams across the world. So
That's
LA gets
too,
2 teams.
so it could be bigger than
That's
that.
just the start. Right. It's just the start. 12 teams worldwide. So we'll have 2 teams in LA, 1 team in San Francisco, 1 team in Houston, Dallas, Orlando, and Miami will share a team. Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and then the global teams will be Shanghai, London, and Seoul. So looking at that, that's pretty spread out. You're covering all your major bases and moving and taking a new approach to esports by having city-based teams. Now, this first season, all the teams will play out of the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles, newly built this year, that all the Blizzard games have been running their tournaments out of, and it has been absolutely beautiful there. Spotless. Like, it is a professional arena to the nines. So it's going to be interesting for these teams. They're all playing for 1 year in the same arena, and in my opinion, that is so these teams who aren't in LA, that aren't in an already established market, that don't have places to play, can show what this product is and then eventually go get places of their own. Because how cool is it going to be when the San Francisco team travels to London and plays Cloud9 and not Cloud9, but London.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be cool, but it's going to be weird, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting to see, like, NBA players, they'll whine and complain that, the Celtics played on opening night in Cleveland, and then the next night they were playing at home. It's obviously not going to be
a 2-hour difference max.
Right. And they're complaining about that. And meanwhile, these Overwatch teams are going to be, maybe traveling all over the place. It's
going to
definitely
be
not
New York to Seoul. Like, that's not a tiny flight.
I think the real issue that they may end up having is, are they going to have the system set up to be able to do like a consistent stream from each location, though? Because when I think of the reason Riot doesn't do something like this is because of the difficulty of like having your stage set up for either A, live viewers, like they have at every single LCS event, and B, having the infrastructure and like technical setup for like keeping computers cool, all these other like effects that are going to come off of if they do travel to different arenas. That's the only thing that I'm going to see, is if they may end up just having teams fly to LA just to play at that battle arena, because the battle arena can stay set up specifically to be set up for that. I mean, not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying that's going to be a real big obstacle if that's the way they want to go about, playing in different cities and stuff like that.
And here's an idea. I think you might be able to work it so that every team hosts a weekend.
Oh, and then just everybody flies there.
Everybody flies there, has a game there, and it's an event that you can, Seoul can put it up in an arena, a massive arena, most likely in Korea, and pack the place. And
for sure.
And then move on.
Pack the place.
Oh, of course. If it's for, and then that's something to look forward to, that your San Francisco team gets to host a game in the brand new Warriors arena in San Francisco when it's built in 2019. Your New York team can pack Madison Square Garden in with all of these, it's not going to be like the San Francisco fans are flying out to New York for a game, but you're going to be able to, I think that's a realistic thing to see, because Ben, I agree with you. It's going to be very hard I think the LA teams will probably share a location, and then it's going to be very hard for like it also just doesn't make sense that like San Francisco is playing Seoul this week, so San Francisco flies to Seoul and then flies back home just to play one match. Like that doesn't make sense money wise in video games. It makes more sense when you're when you're an NBA team and you have like or an NFL team and you're traveling and then you go home. You do one thing and that makes sense. And you know it's going to make money. The esports problem is you can have an empty arena. You cannot sell tickets.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the third option to look at is, Colin, you've actually been to the League of Legends facilities, the smaller ones they have their daily matches at.
yes.
Every city could theoretically build one of those. I mean, that would not be too.
But what else is going to be going on there is what I'd be concerned.
I mean, that's the thing. It's going to be one of those things. You know, are they going to be playing enough games a season where having one specific spot that's always set up? It's going to be a smaller live crowd every week, but it's going to be a place that you know is going to be ready. You're not going to have any issues with setting things up. Every single city could have an almost identical one, or they could personalize it their own, like cities personalize their stadiums now. You know, maybe that's the way they do it. I think the biggest thing is say everybody does have their own arena, small arena, just like the League of Legends ones, you know, live studio audience of maybe 100 people. And then the rest are via YouTube, Twitch streams, whatever streaming platform. The biggest thing is, you know, are these teams, it's the scheduling. Do you schedule, you know, all of your games between one of the LA teams and Seoul for like the beginning of the season, so you don't have to fly in between? Because like, depending on how their scheduling is, like C9, like in LOL they play 2 different teams a week, right?
Right.
So because they're in LA, that's easy, whatever, you're all going to the same arena. But, you know, it's like you can't really schedule the team to play Seoul one week and then play Boston the next week when they're from LA. It's just like, I mean, you could, but like you were saying, it's not really financial. Even if they have their own arenas set up, it's still not financially, I guess, worth it to fly them in that short period of time.
I think what you might see is something more along the lines of teams renting, and if they do it in cities and they get their own arenas in the cities, it's not going to be an arena. It's going to be them coordinating with a venue and making sure that they're going to event, that they're setting up at a venue that can hold it. Because one thing that I've noticed is that I went to IEM Oakland last year, and that was honestly, it was fun to go, but the amount of disconnects that I saw
IEM is a dumpster fire when it comes to their setup.
The amount of disconnects that I saw in a League of Legends game was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was so unprofessional. And that was at Oracle Arena. That was at Oracle Arena, the Warriors Arena. And you're telling me you can't get a fine freaking Google Fiber line into Oracle Arena? Come on.
I mean, that's the issue with trying to set these things up like weekly. That's the issue. Like, you need the standalone place.
Yep.
So you don't encounter these issues.
That's exactly the problem that I see with them trying to do these things in different places. Because like when I watched the PUBG Invitational that was in over in Germany, in Cologne.
Yep.
And they had an awful amount of PC issues, you know, Windows updates, you know, the PC crashed, the game crashed, you know, a PC overheated, you know, these crazy problems that should not be in a professional setting. I think that's what's going to be the real issue, is something happening that is going to be technical, not within the bounds of the player being able to do anything about it, and a match is either thrown or having to be replayed with people being, you know, pretty much unfairly, like a game reset for literally of no fault of their own.
Yeah.
And in Overwatch, that will destroy you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The way Overwatch is set up, you are playing matches kind of to the sense of you're one person. I mean, it's either securing the point or it's moving the payload.
Yeah.
And imagine if you're in the middle of moving. Imagine if you're escorting the payload, game shuts down, and then you gotta backtrack and start all over again because there was a disconnect, because that's not going to start in the middle of a game. That's not how Overwatch works.
Yeah,
It's not like League where they just
have
pause
the
the whole
break. Yeah,
game.
they have a chrono break tool, which I
Right.
think is which I think is something that almost every game needs to start.
Yeah, Blizzard will have to invest in that, is getting that chrono break feature so they can remake a game exactly how it was up until that moment.
Yeah, that I think that's now that it's been introduced into League of Legends, I don't think an esport can honestly be as good as it is and be to the level that Riot Games has now pushed it to without that type of feature, at least.
Yeah, because I mean, without that kind of feature, the first way to counter that, even without that feature, is having your standalone places that are always available. Because then you have backup computers ready, you have a staff at that arena ready to go to fix these technical problems that can arise. But if you're trying to contract out and set things up every week, having the entire league in one city at once, these things can come up, and it might come up more frequently because it's not a set in stone venue that's ready for all of the technological capabilities they're going to have to put through. If they're not prepared for that because it's on a short notice, like, oh, we're going to Seoul this week, oh, we're going to Shanghai this week, it could be more difficult in that sense.
Can you imagine though if we get to the point where all these teams have arenas?
That'd be crazy. Like, can you imagine just boom?
It'd be awesome.
Overwatch League arenas.
I think Overwatch, and this might just be the person who has over 100 hours logged in Overwatch, and 19 of those. No, okay. A game that's been out for a year. A game that's been out for a year and a half, and I don't play professionally. I logged 19 hours in on the first 3 days of Overwatch, and 14 of those hours were straight on Tracer. I was number 4 ranked Tracer in NA on Xbox, but you can say Xbox PC, but to me, Overwatch is Overwatch. No matter what you play it on, it's this. It gives you that same. It gives you that same.
That's what you look for in an esport. It gives you that excitement. It gives you that.
When you're there in that point, and you're trying to get, and you got a Lucio running around the map, trying to stay on the point, just trying to hop on it during an overtime, and you're sitting there running back from your point because you just died, and you're watching that overtime clicker going down, and then it gets reset, and you're like, oh, I can make it, and then you don't make it. Like Overwatch just has this. It has the potential to bring esports into they can cross-platform this in a way. And what I mean by cross-platform is truly just be a multimedia game. Like, tell me that you guys would not watch an Overwatch TV series on Netflix right now.
I wouldn't.
You really have you watched those animated shorts?
I have. I've watched every animated short that they've released, but
they're the quality of in terms of, but they're not telling a story. They're not telling a story in the game, but I'm saying they have the opportunity to use that.
I don't know if they have a story that they're going to tell that I would want to listen to, though.
I do. I really do. I think you can tell the story of Overwatch from the beginning.
Popular. I'm not one of the people that really got into Overwatch. I've played it. I've played it a bunch. And I mean, it's a good game, but it's just not my sort of thing. Because FPSs, I've really died out on after Call of Duty. Just
right, that
left a sour. Call of Duty left a sour taste in my mouth after anything after Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Has just left such a sour taste in my mouth.
Don't even bring that game up to me and Michael.
Dude, we'll rock some kids in duos, baby. Let's go.
We'll rock some duos on Modern Warfare 3.
Dude, I'll bust 360 out right now. Take some kids on.
Let's land this thing up. But I think they have right now, Overwatch is playing on TV every night on Disney XD. And it's the Contender Series, which is the highest that you can get right now in League of Legends outside of, or not League, in Overwatch outside of
Didn't they have something on TBS as well?
That was E-League. E-League had that for CSGO. Turner put a big investment in that. When they went hard on CSGO, they set up an arena in Atlanta. They were running everything out of Atlanta. and they set up like Bleacher Report, also owned by Turner, went hard in on the esports. When they did that, they made a podcast that I've listened to called Rally Point that they used as kind of just a easy, just easy publicity to get stuff out. But I think what they can, I think Overwatch has the ability to kind of get you while you're not watching the game. While you're not watching and while you're not playing, Overwatch has the ability to get you in another way.
Yeah,
the comics are amazing. I've read every Overwatch comic that's come out. It's released story bits about characters. While that has nothing to do with the game, in the way that I play my Junkrat or the way that I play my Soldier 76, I still enjoy it because I think Blizzard, the way that they work as a company is they put story. Story is important to them more so than gameplay, but that potential has the ability to bring in more eyes.
Yep, and I think League of Legends showed that that's viable. I mean, they have action figures, they have jerseys, T-shirts.
Gotta love those pop vinyls, baby.
Hoodies.
Gotta love those pop vinyls.
Hoodies.
They have hoodies
T-shirts.
you can get. All sorts of posters. Like even individual teams have their own team stores and things.
Hey, I got a Jana poster.
Yeah, I mean, like people, like you can buy like an entire set of what are they're all the rage right now. They're like the little
vinyls.
Cartoonized.
Yeah,
pop vinyls.
Yeah, you can buy the entire League of Legends basically franchise in like all the champions in those. You can get $100 plus sculptures of like Thresh and other champions.
The Thresh sculpture, $125.
Like every champion has their, like Colin was saying, Blizzard focuses very heavily on this backstory. Like World of Warcraft is just so big with that. Like all of the interactions between the heroes and stuff.
All the books.
World of Warcraft has an insane book line. Like League of Legends doesn't necessarily have a book line, but they have comics. They come out with comics. I think they have some books and comics. They definitely have comics. They have a board game. I mean, they came out with a board game.
Mechs and Minions.
Mechs and Minions. It's actually pretty fun if you've never played it. But like they have all these things like Colin's talking about with Overwatch. I think Overwatch saw these models and Blizzard is taking it and making their own version of a viable esport. Like things like Players Unknown Battlegrounds. I don't know if it can be a viable esport. One, because
it has to not look like doo-doo.
It has to not look like crap and have all the performance issues, but there's no backstory. There's no anything behind it. There's no
It's just another CSGO in my opinion. When I'm watching PUBG, I just see CSGO. But when I'm watching Overwatch,
no main character in CSGO. There's nothing for you to grasp on. Like you can't be a Tracer main in CSGO. Like there's nothing of that nature.
You have to be an AWM main. Come on.
Right. Maybe that's CSGO's alternative is you're an AK-47 main. But it's like League of Legends, you can be a main of a champion, you can love their backstory, you can hate other people for their backstory. Like you can hate Draven and Darius because of the Demacia, like Demacians. Whatever your thing is, Blizzard is building on that, like Colin was saying. And I think it's a good model to keep them esports viable by giving fans an alternative to just watching these games.
And that to me is what we're all good. That to me is what Blizzard I trust them.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, World of Warcraft, how unbelievable is it that game is 14 years old and people are still playing $12.99? People are still paying $12.99 a month.
Is World of Warcraft arguably the most successful video game of all time?
Of all time.
Arguably, it's on the list at least for top 10, top 5.
If not one of the greatest games.
It's number one.
It's got to be number one.
There's no video game that has had more consistency, more money, and more
South Park made an episode about it.
Yeah,
like that's how
South Park is making an episode about your game and has gone and worked with you to go in game. They went in game and made those videos.
Yep.
Like this is not the who's the tank, what's the mage.
Made an item in the game from the show.
The sword of 1,000 truths.
Yep.
Like Blizzard just understands the model of a successful long-term game. And Overwatch,
and they dropped this Overwatch League the year after. Like, Overwatch hadn't even been out for a year.
Yeah.
BlizzCon is in November every year. This game came out May 5th, 2015, I believe.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, and then November of that year, the company announces this Overwatch League with a cool video that's like, look, anybody can be in this league. This game is at the point where you can pick up a mouse and keypad right now
and become the faker of Overwatch.
Right, exactly. And you can become, like, you have time to become an amazing player, and anybody can do this. And that's what I love about this opportunity, that these teams, like, they wanted to have a draft. They want to have free agents. Like, imagine every year there's going to be the Overwatch League, and then we'll call it the Overwatch B League. The Overwatch B League, all of those players, they're in that for a whole year. There's no going up and down throughout the year. So then imagine you have an Overwatch B League draft that then the regular league can then start picking the top players out of it. People still stay in it because not everybody's picked. Yeah. And then there's 12 new players in the league that were stars in the other league.
No, it's a great model. And I mean, League of Legends does a similar thing with Proving Grounds and the Challenger Series. I mean, it's a model that works. I mean, MLB would not have farm teams if it wasn't a model that worked. You know, there'd be no such thing as farm teams in the Major League Baseball or the NHL. You know, none of that would happen if it wasn't a model that worked. And
shout out to the Stingrays.
Yes, shout out to the Carolina Stingrays. Did they bring home the Kelly Cup last year? Or did they lose?
I hope they did.
I can't remember if they brought it home or not. They were in the finals for like 2 years. I can't remember if they brought it home or not. Hopefully they did. I can't remember. But, you know, it's these farm teams, they have a point. I mean, the point is to develop the talent. Like, that's the whole point. And if Blizzard has this opportunity to find all this talent and develop it and make a really good league for itself, have the best players, and then introduce new players that then can then be developed and maybe become the best player then. You know, it's a great model. Along with that aspect of it, the whole, you know, you can root for your city, not just a team. You can root for your city, assuming there's a team in your city or near you. You can, you know, buy into the other things like the short videos, you know, the TV series. All these things come together to actually, you know, form this community that's going to make this work.
I would tell you right now, if you put an Overwatch TV series on Netflix, they just announced 35 million players across all platforms. 30 out of those 35 million are probably going to go watch that on Netflix.
Yeah, I no doubt that it would.
And then they put it on Disney XD. They already have it. They have free publicity. It's like why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC is never going to go off of TV, because Marvel and Disney have a slot every Tuesday. They can show you new Marvel trailers. They can pump all of their Marvel properties at this one time, and they have it all the time. So they already have the Overwatch League deal with Disney, not Overwatch League deal, but the Contender Series right now on Disney XD that it's playing every night. And the World Cup is on there too, because the World Cup is what's leading up to BlizzCon this year. And that's getting streamed, that's getting shown every day. I mean, this game, I think it's the only video game that has daily TV coverage.
Yeah, probably daily. I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, daily coverage. Besides just individual Twitch streamers, we're talking like actual games happening daily.
I'm talking cable television, not Twitch.
In North America. Yes.
Right. You know, Korea and China probably have some StarCraft coverage and stuff like that going on. But in terms of North America, I can't think of another one. I think one point, Colin, that we should highlight a little bit here that we haven't talked about is the benefits players are getting.
Oh my gosh, they want to hook these kids up.
So I have the list in front of me right now. I'm gonna read out this list for you guys and compare this. You know, it might not be NBA money, might not be NFL money, but think about this for a kid who might have dropped out of college because he's really good at a video game. These numbers are more than worth it if they succeed. So teams will sign players to at least a 1-year guaranteed contract with the option to extend. So very like a rookie deal for the NFL, depending on when you're drafted. The minimum salary of players is $50,000 a year. Minimum salary. Teams will provide
right now.
Right? Seriously, sign me up right now. Like I will work my ass off. I will be.
Let me play with a controller, and you got me.
I will be the greatest Junkrat player of all time. I will be the Hanzo. I will be the Arrow.
You played Junkrat since they added his second mine?
Dude, is insane.
It is so much fun.
Right?
It is absolutely insane. Like,
it's insane.
Let me throw this, fly high. Let me throw this, fly higher, and I'm behind the other team, and you can't even tell.
What else is insane is these teams have to provide players with health insurance and a retirement saving plan. These people are getting 401ks. You don't even get that at like McDonald's, right?
I'm about to work at GameStop. I get a 401k at GameStop.
Right? Like, but you know, if you're working minimum wage at McDonald's, you're not getting any of this. You're not getting any of this. You know, I could be wrong. I don't work at McDonald's. I don't know their, salaries and all that. But I don't think it's $50K a year guaranteed and health insurance and a 401k.
My uncle Chris worked at McDonald's one time, and they fired him within a week because they said he wasn't McDonald's quality standards.
That is where do you go? Where do you go in life after that?
Where do you
go when McDonald's tells you you're not McDonald's material? Where do you go in life? Oh, right, he went to the Army. But
and then the final thing is teams will distribute at least 50% of any of their performance bonuses, which is money from winning playoffs, other league events, things like that. 50% of those bonuses have to go to the players.
This is all about the players. That is what I want to hear.
Say they win the Overwatch League, and just for easy numbers' sake, they get $1 million, right?
Right.
Half of that, $500,000, directly to the players. Boom. Like
that's unreal. And they're gonna roster like 10 guys, and even then, you get your whole yearly salary for winning the league.
Yeah, it says they have a minimum of 6 players, no more than 12. There's no region locking, so you can have players from any country, is what they're saying.
Boom.
Unlike League of Legends, where you do have the import slots, which this could theoretically make it, hard for homegrown talent to get in, depending on, how dedicated some of these.
That was one thing I was really worried about when I started hearing that these teams were coming in, and then you see like Cloud9 is the London team. Yeah. So does that mean that all these Cloud9 guys are already going to be there, and then these new people that come in are going to have a hard time getting through that Cloud9 buffer?
I think it's going to be more of a, is it going to be all of a sudden every team is Korean and Chinese players?
Hey, man, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win.
Last year, everybody messed up in the World Cup because the World Cup of Overwatch is done where countries will vote on what players they want to play, like that they want to play. It's just a fan vote in for the teams. So North America, USA, and then USA just threw together some streamers, and then Korea was over there like, what? No, we're just gonna put the 6 best. We're just gonna put the 6 best players we have in Korea on a team. That's unreal, and they just swept the whole thing. It wasn't even close.
That could pose an issue for the league, but we're going to skip over that for a second. And the last thing, it says that they're going to be these player benefits. Their players are going to provide housing and practice facilities during the season, which will meet professional standards set by the Overwatch League. Now, they have not actually released these standards, but I'm assuming it's got to be not a dump. I mean,
I'm thinking 3-bedroom, 2 bath, maybe a nice backyard.
Right?
For 12 potential 12 players.
You know what I mean though. Like, what are your standards? Like a solid 6-bedroom house, 2 people in each room, 2 massive. You got to have like a massive basement to house all of your setups and your rigs. But it's not like they're not willing to shell it out.
But I mean, like, just trying to comprehend all of those benefits that are guaranteed. And this thing hasn't even technically started yet. That's insane.
And from what you were saying earlier, what they're emphasizing is what Riot in League of Legends are just now coming around to try to emphasize. And I think Blizzard's coming out of the gate saying, no, this is what they like. If we want this taken seriously, then these players need to be taken seriously. Like they want and need to be taken.
Yeah,
they have like you have to show investors like this is big for investors.
Yeah,
this is big.
You
that
have
you're
to
gonna
show
say,
these people have value to you.
Right. You have to show like that the first time a tracer decides that they're going to take over and go off, but the rest of the team is back respawning, and then they go out and die, and then the rest of the team has to wait for that tracer to come back. They're not going to get fired that day or get replaced. Like they might get replaced by somebody else on the roster and then have to work their way back, but they're not going to get cut.
Yeah. A little bit of job security doesn't hurt the player relations.
No, and I think you get better play out of players. You get you get a player who is not concerned about losing his job every day.
Because you got to think about low-level teams in like League of Legends that were constantly up for the relegation tournament. You know, that's got to be stressful. You know, you might not have a job.
You're doing all you can. In your mind, you're preparing the same way that Faker's preparing for tournaments. At least you hope.
You hope. It's not. You probably aren't.
It's not. You're probably not.
You don't have a robotics chip implanted in your head on how to win League of Legends, but you try your best.
Right. And these teams can sell to they can get anybody because you know it's not going to be like these teams where in baseball the Yankees just have unlimited money.
Yeah.
The Red Sox seem to have unlimited money, and then you have the Oakland A's who seem to just feed into other teams and not pay their players much because they don't want to pay anybody. So they just have all these good young players, and then they sell them to, they trade them to other teams for money and they bring it back. So that all 12 teams are going to be on an equal playing basis when it comes to acquiring players. That once Seoul and Shanghai and Dallas have equal pull on players.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge.
I think it's going to be interesting watching. So they're guaranteed a base of 50K. We know that. It's going to be interesting seeing how much do these investors actually push the ticket. You know, do they go out? Do they find who they think is the best player and they throw down this enormous contract that no one else can match? Or is the going to be everybody's worth 50K and that's it? You know, are they going to be penny pinching at the beginning of it, or are they going to be laying down contracts to try and start out as the best?
I just think I'm just really excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a crazy couple months as this thing gets rolling.
December 8th is the start date for the preseason, and then January 10th is when the whole main season gets rolling. I'll be watching every game. Especially if we keep doing this show.
Only thing I'm scared about is spectating such a fast-paced sport is going
They
to
do
be
a very good job from what I've seen, and I think they've taken, like I was saying earlier, how they have it on Disney XD. I've been watching it, and it's the only thing that gets tricky is when you switch from a tracer on one team to a tracer on the other team. That's when it gets a little tricky.
I think the only thing that needs to be addressed overall with their spectator system is Blizzard just needs to update it a bit. I think, and I've heard rumors that Blizzard is actually updating it to look a lot more like CS:GO as far as how the setup is, where you can see trajectories on grenades.
CS:GO does a good job though. They do have a good interface.
They have a really good spectator interface, so you can see sort of the whole overview of a match. So you pretty much have aimbot hacks when you're as a spectator in CS:GO.
Right.
Like you can see where everybody is through walls and whatnot. And I think that's something that's going to be really important as Blizzard moves forward.
Yeah.
Is having a spectator mode that gives the spectator enough information to where they feel like they understand and have a feeling for what the game, how the game is going.
So correct me if I'm wrong,
just
guys.
the spectator, or the announcer telling us.
So when you're watching League, can you not go in and watch it through the League?
You can't
Like,
watch it through the League client because it's closed games.
You can't watch it through the client? Okay.
No, they're closed games.
So if you're in the client, they do have notifications for live games, and if you click it, it will link you to the LOL eSports website where you can then watch it through Twitch, YouTube.
Okay.
Or you could just go to the individual platforms, Twitch or YouTube, to watch, but you cannot watch it in the client.
Yeah, they have the spectator mode in client, but
How is
like
that?
the way it's set up, it's exactly like the way they use it on a cast. It's all the same controls, turning Fog of War on and off, seeing items for each individual person, all that stuff for sure. Like it's the exact same as watching it on Twitch, but the games are closed to only have 2 spectators like in the actual game. So like it'll be all the players, and then within the client there's only 2 slots for other people like in the actual game.
Yeah. And it's a 3-minute spectator delay.
Yeah.
So what I've seen with Overwatch at least is that they kind of do this. It kind of feels like remember when you're in when you were playing Halo and you'd go make your own map.
Yeah.
And you can just fly around. Also like in Minecraft when you're in creative mode.
Yeah.
You're just kind of flying and zooming around. You can see everything. Mm-hmm. They have that in the Overwatch when they're doing that, and they kind of can back off of a situation. They can go directly from seeing the first person view of a Tracer going in on the attack or a Bastion, steamrolling people. And then they can also back out of that view and give you a third person view of everything that's going on right there. And I think it's finding the right mix of both that will make it an appealing.
Sure.
That was one thing when Ben and I were watching the PUBG Invitational. They had a very hard time getting the right balance between those two things, because you as much as you want to watch the first person's perspective, because you want to see what these guys are seeing it from overhead gives you more information overall, and you can see the fight more from both sides versus that first person view. But I think you're right. If they find a way to balance that perfectly, it's not always going to be perfect, but as close as they can, that's the goal here. And that makes it more interactive for the watcher, because you feel like you get the first person view like you're playing, but you also get that kind of omniscient, what's going on everywhere else around the map.
I'm really hoping that this is that they get these kinks worked out in the first year, because the first year I think is going to be successful regardless. Like I said before, 35 million players playing it. It's probably the most popular paid for game right now. That's has any longevity
other than PUBG.
Right.
Yeah, PUBG I think technically is number 1 right now, but I wouldn't say it's esports viable.
No, it is not. They're still building it. You're still building a game.
They still haven't
access.
They still haven't released version 1.0 yet. Okay,
right, still on
it is not ready.
Whatever. Right. Exactly. Yeah. But it's definitely going to be interesting after this first year to see how everything rolls out with the teams in terms of how they get to where they're going, where the arena situation is going to be like. But wrapping up the Overwatch League, it just has a lot of potential. It has the potential to be a mainstream.
As long as they don't go full Activision on it and start throwing commercials.
The only thing that Blizzard got from Activision was helping was the guiding like your tracking system when you're shooting at somebody.
Yeah,
that was the only thing when they were making Overwatch that I think they went on when they knocked over on Activision's door and was like, "Hey, Call of Duty guys, hey, over here, us, yeah, the people who actually make money for Activision Blizzard stock, us over here, we need you guys to come help us out." And I think if they can, they really got something here.
As long as it doesn't over commercialize, like one thing I noticed when I was watching World Championships this year for League of Legends, in between each game, there are 2 commercials, one for Acer and one for T-Mobile,
and it's the same.
Both of which are esport geared. I'm okay with it. More than 2 commercials, now you're just kind of starting to turn like, okay, I understand you guys want money and stuff off of this commercializing of the game, but I don't want to sit here and watch commercials for.
We're looking at you, NFL.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I don't want my esports games to turn into, it takes me 7 hours to watch an hour-long game because there's, commercials.
I think Overwatch has the ability to keep you like it's structured in the same way that League is, where you're playing like instead of it's best of 5 or it's one game if you're in the group stages, when it becomes best of 5 and the knockouts and semis. They play best of 5 on 5 random matches, on 5 random maps. So you could play an escort map on Hollywood, and then you could play a capture map on Nepal, and that keeps that interesting to me. I think when you interchange them like that, and from what I've seen, they'll take a break in between the fifth, but Overwatch is then kind of set up for that, though, and that's what makes things successful, not successful but profitable, is that they have 15 to 20 minute segments, and then there's a break, switch out teams, or a little break, and then next game. So it's going to be interesting to see how, because the Overwatch Contenders series hasn't been live streamed on Disney XD. It's been a rebroadcast, repurposed for television.
Yeah.
So you see they'll play all of Nepal, and then there's a commercial. There's a commercial for the Overwatch League. It's coming. We get it. And then there's just a regular Overwatch commercial, and then it's the one Disney XD commercial for whatever toy, and then it's back to Overwatch. If that's how it is, I can work.
Horrible. I can live with that.
It's not horrible, right? Like I can live with that, and then it's going to be interesting to see how the Overwatch League does that live.
I think what Ben said earlier, if the promotions don't get out of hand number wise, and they're, I guess, thematically related, content related to esports, I want to see tech companies. I want to see the game developers themselves. I want to see that kind of stuff. I don't want to see necessarily Bud Light commercials. I mean, granted, we see those every day anyway, but if it's more geared towards esports, I am 100% more inclined to watch that than if it's just more Bud Light commercials.
Final thoughts
agree.
on it, Ben?
Yeah, I agree for sure. Like if you're advertising, I don't know, Monster Energy commercial. I drink Monster Energy. I get that. Or if it's a Razer commercial, doing a bit about their new keyboard and mouse. It's something along those lines. I'm all right with it. But as soon as it branches off to Hardee's or Carl's Jr. slapping
we're done.
giant hamburger down on it, it's over.
We have the meats.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need that. I see it on TV all the time. That's why I don't really watch TV that much anymore. It's just 90% commercials and 10% stuff I actually want to watch. As long as it doesn't turn into that, we're good. I think they have a solid game plan for making a very successful esports scene for themselves. Even honestly, if you've never watched, if you want to see how they've commercialized esports in League of Legends for Korea, that is the perfect balance of commercials and product advertisement and actual gameplay.
Fakers
If you ever
those commercials.
Yeah, if you watch any of the South Korean LCK matches, they will legitimately have commercials for food and stuff like that, but it's food that's relevant to people that would be watching. So
oh my god, when I went to IEM Oakland, it was all sponsored by Tostinos, and they were just handing out pizza rolls.
Yeah, something like a Hot Pocket commercial, or even like I know one of the ones that was just yeah,
bring back Joker.
One of the ones that was really memorable for me from the LCK that I just happened to be up watching one night was they have health potion, mana potion drinks.
Oh,
and it's
unbelievable.
It's a strawberry energy drink or a blueberry energy drink. And you know, mana potion is blueberry, strawberry is the health potion. And I thought that was super cool. It was relevant to what the people would care about. And it was something that I could relate to personally. Like, as long as they do something along those lines, I'm all right with a couple commercials. It's fine. Maybe I'll see
that point, when I'll tell you something that I hated was at IEM. I feel like we were just watching the Twitch like stream when we weren't watching the games. I feel like they were just showing whatever they were putting out to everywhere on the stream.
Yeah.
It was the same 5 commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to need some differentiation. For sure.
You gotta do eSports has to do something different. Like, don't just bring in one guy and interview him. Like, the people who are putting these stuff together, like, you got to realize, like, people are gonna sit there and watch. If you're gonna make, if you have a product that somebody is gonna sit in a room with other people and watch for 8 hours, you have to tailor to those people and know that the same thing drives us crazy.
Unless you're Korean and you like grinding, that's it. That's the only thing where the same thing really.
Right. Unless you're a gold farmer in WoW since the age of 5. It's all gonna be that.
You grind in RuneScape's accounts for a living.
Oh my gosh. Have you guys seen that? They brought RuneScape back.
Yeah, they updated it.
They massively updated it. And then I also heard that Jagex that's the company that makes it, right? Jagex, they were gonna make a Transformers game in the vein of RuneScape, and that never came. I was signed up for the beta. About a just client-based. Yes, Michael, please look this up for me because I really want to know if this game's out. I will stop the show right now and play it.
The Transformers one?
Yes, Transformers Jagex game. That would be greatly appreciated. But to wrap up Overwatch, it's going to be interesting to see the next couple months how everything rolls together.
As of 2014, Colin, they shut the game down.
No! See, that's how long that was stuck in my head. 3 years. Dang. Come on, Hasbro.
Right.
Do you know how much money those movies make? Do you not think people in China
LaBeouf gets all of it, okay? Thank you.
And now Marky Mark's like, oh, I think I found a Transformer.
A Transformer.
I found me a Transformer over here, Bumblebee.
That little small girl. I don't remember.
I want to fight. I want to shut up.
You're 7 years old. Like,
shut up.
Go drink a juice box. Get out of here. All right, let's go.
What are you talking about? I want a movie of. Okay, no more Transformers talk. Let's roll into Hearthstone. I'll kind of just run through this. We've already been going for 2 hours, so
yeah, it's been a long opening cast.
It's been a long opening cast. The Hearthstone Summer Championship series finished this past weekend. Culminated. Surrender won. It was an unbelievable 2 days of Hearthstone. I try to get in at least 5 to 6 matches a day. I've been in Hearthstone since closed beta. It's my favorite game of all time. As somebody who sat in his room playing Yu-Gi-Oh games against himself, the fact that I can, right? Like I had to. I would pretend that I was like playing.
Hey, you
Yu-Gi.
teach me how to play Duel Monsters.
Yugi, what? Oh, Joey! Shout out Joey Wheeler. I summoned a Red Eyes Black Dragon. Oh, but Hearthstone to me is the poker. Oh my gosh, so American it hurts. Like they're just like
right.
But to me, Hearthstone is the poker of esports. If you want to compare it to watching sports, you know, I call League like watching a good soccer match. There's a lot of strategy to it. Inner workings in the game, stuff changes right in the middle of a game on the fly.
You can fall asleep while watching
Hearthstone. You could fall asleep while watching Hearthstone and then wake up and it's boom, it's still right there. The streams are like 10 hours long and they're just straight matches and it's so much fun. Like
see
the matches this week.
With Hearthstone, I don't play it, so if I ever see
You
it,
can't watch
on
it.
it, I'm just like, sure, he did that thing.
Right.
Good for him. Everybody else is cheering. Whoa, that was crazy. And I'm like, I don't fucking know what's going on.
Exactly. It's
Spotting lethal is life.
right. And it's a lot of math. It's on the fly. It's watching these guys have 2 minutes to process everything that's going on, every possible outcome for the next 4 turns. They're processing it in a minute and then making a decision with the next. But this weekend was really exciting because this was the last 4 spots to get into BlizzCon. So the quarterfinals were extremely exciting because these were 8 players vying for 4 spots. And then the semifinals were just, whatever, guys. We all made it to not BlizzCon, because Hearthstone no longer does their championship series at BlizzCon. They're doing it in Europe next January for the World Championships. I think that was done just because there's a lot of stuff going on at BlizzCon. Like the StarCraft stage, the Overwatch stage, the World of Warcraft stage. They all have their World Championships finishing there. Well, the World Cup right now for Overwatch, but I'm sure the Overwatch League final will culminate at BlizzCon. It's too hard for it not to.
Yeah, it's too juicy for Blizzard.
Yeah, exactly. And Hearthstone was just kind of you from what I've heard from people who have gone to BlizzCon, you were left with, well, do I go watch Overwatch right now, or do I go watch Hearthstone right now, or what do I do? And Hearthstone was just like, look, we're big enough. They're over 50-60 million players cross mobile and PC, which is unreal to me that this game, like somebody at Blizzard was like, we're gonna make a card game. And so I was like, what? We make WoW, Diablo, and StarCraft. And you want to, and this was just the 4th game. This was before Overwatch. And Heroes of the Storm, I think, may have been out. I don't think it was.
It was. It was out before Hearthstone.
Yeah, Heroes of the Storm. At least the alpha and beta were out.
Yeah, they were team. Yeah, they're team 5 at Hearthstone. So, and Heroes of the Storm now. Heroes of the Storm is gaining some momentum in terms of taking Dota over as the second, the second MOBA game.
It's more interesting to watch Heroes of the Storm than it is to watch Dota. That's for sure.
It is so interesting to me to watch.
The only problem
I
have
is Thrall roll in, and then Tracer shows up and is like, "What's up,
yeah,
Thrall?"
It's just like Heroes of the Storm is like watching 35 minutes of 25-minute League of Legends team fights. That's all it is.
When I play, I prefer playing it.
Fight portion of League of Legends.
I prefer playing Heroes of the Storm to League for that reason, because I feel like in terms of items, there's a tinier barrier. There's a lower barrier of entrance of entry to play, so because there's not hundreds of items to learn what the right item combinations are. Yep. You're just picking like individual, and they tell you when you level up and whatever in Heroes. We're not talking about Heroes, but it's just simpler to me. If I want to play a MOBA, I'm going to pick up Heroes of the Storm. One, because I know the characters. To me, that's an easy layer. Yeah. That's an easy barrier of entry that I know when I pick up Junkrat, who just came into Heroes, he's going to do exactly what he does in the other games, which that to me is a little easier to understand.
Yeah.
And then Hearthstone kind of did the same thing where they were doing, where they have the hero classes from WoW.
Yep. They bring your familiar characters back.
Bring your familiar characters, all your people. And then it's Hearthstone is from an old WoW player. Hearthstone's the perfect thing to do while I was sitting there that I didn't have to sit there while I was waiting for a raid group, or while I was waiting for a dungeon that took 25 minutes and I'm just standing in Orgrimmar. Yeah. Oh, or that. Right? Yeah. It's the greatest game of all time.
Exactly.
And it's just, all right, cool. I'm going to hop in, play a game of Hearthstone. Boom. Hop right back out. And it's perfect for that. But the championship series this weekend was just, if you're not, I could tell, if you don't know what's going on, and those guys were making some, like, you're just sitting there watching dudes scratch their head for a minute 50. And then they're just, boom, turns done. And you're like, what? If you don't know what's going on, you're just like, what did I just see? And Ben, I totally hear what you're saying. Like, there's a high barrier of entry to watching Hearthstone, and it's in the original ad for it. When you look on the app stores, it's deceptively simple, insanely hard to master.
Right.
So it's easy to get into, but to play at the higher levels is truly something impressive. To keep that concentration, to at the point where you're playing these players, you know every card that's in their deck, and you're essentially counting cards, running a strategy of your own, and countering their strategy at the same time. It's a lot going on at one time. And Hearthstone had the way they're set up to where they're releasing 3 new sets a year, bringing in influx of new cards that make each big tournament different from the other. That has, you know, a little bit better of a feel to it, as opposed to it just being the same cards over and over and over again. It has the potential to just roll and keep being different. If you don't like this set, don't play. Come back in 3 months, buy all the new cards, and come back in. I mean, you're not paying to play this
solid
game.
clip, Michael. Solid clip.
Good clip. I found a good clip to demonstrate what we're talking about. It's like, it's one of those clips like you wouldn't have no idea what's happening if you're a new player, but if you know what's going on, it's actually hilarious.
Exactly. And Hearthstone's filled with moments like that. But I think right now, so it's the end of Hearthstone for a little bit in terms of big games, big tournaments coming up. The next big one is going to be the World Championship the beginning of next year. And that will have a new set. The new set will be announced at BlizzCon, and then that will be the new set that will influence the next the World Championships. So that's exciting to me. I play a lot of Hearthstone. I could do a whole show about Hearthstone if I really wanted to.
I'd be lost every second of it.
Yeah, and so my deck that I'm playing right now is a solid. I'm playing like 6.
If you say Secret Paladin, you can go kill yourself.
This is not 2015, Michael.
I know.
Secret Paladin is dead.
I stopped playing because of Secret Paladin.
Secret Paladin was a Christmas tree Paladin. You mean Christmas tree Paladin?
Where
you drop it and then it becomes the whole screen becomes a Christmas tree, and you're like, okay, now I got to play around this, play around that, play around this, play around that, and then. Well, they kind of screwed themselves with the Stampeding Kodo. When Stampeding Kodo came out, the whole noble sacrifice into Stampeding Kodo, into the one that returns it. Not only were they returning the 2/1 back to the hand, but right, exactly. They just keep running it. Yeah. We should probably stop talking about Hearthstone. Because
we'll go for another hour and a half.
I would go for another right now on how pissed off I am at the Hearthstone ladder. Getting out of the bottom slums of Hearthstone right now is absolutely unbearable.
Oh,
if you're not playing Pirate Warrior or
that's something Ben can relate to.
I can relate to that on a holistic level with League of Legends.
Yeah, that's why I can't do it, because then, like, even if I wanted to play League of Legends with Michael, he'd be like, well, you know, we could play like one game, but then I'm going to have to go play with all my other friends who are actually playing at the level that I want to play at. So,
hey, me and Michael have prepared for this eventuality, and we have level 7 accounts to play with you, Colin.
How nice of you guys. Oh, right. Your little, what are they called?
Smurfs.
Your little blue Smurfs running around.
Worst people on the face of the planet is Smurfs.
Yeah, those Smurfs. They just inflate numbers. That's all they're there for. We know. Well, I think that'll do it for this first episode of The Meta. I'd like to thank Ben and Michael for joining me on this inaugural episode. It was real fun to get a real in-depth look at League of Legends from you guys. I feel like I learn something every time I listen to people who actually play League of Legends, and then I can take it and apply it to watching.
Colin, you could be one of those people. It's free.
It's free to play, baby.
But you know, I suck. So I'm Tracer. I'm Tracer. I want to run in and I want to kill people. That's why I want to play Heroes of the Storm.
You can play Lucian then. You'll fit right in.
Yeah, he has 2 guns.
Okay.
He's not white. but
that's your own personal preference.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's not a white lesbian, so I mean,
Well, you know.
I'm assuming that's the
Overwatch-
only reason you play, so you could feel the minority
Nah,
from playing as Tracer.
nah, because then I just pull out Soldier 76 and I'm an old white man pulling up my
See?
visors.
Yeah. Well, it's yes. You gotta balance.
And then I turn Clint Eastwood, get off my lawn.
Dude, that's
I
what
got
Soldier
you in my
76
sights.
is. That's Gran Torino Clint Eastwood right there.
Give me the Clint Eastwood Soldier 76 skin
Dude,
now.
that'd be beautiful. That'd be beautiful. Blizzard, we called for it. Let our prayers be answered.
Well, that'll do it, guys. We'll come back after Worlds. We probably won't do a show after semifinals, but we'll do a show after finals and kind of recap Worlds and get an in-depth look at what you guys thought about those matches. Ben, if people wanted to find you on social media, do you have any of that you'd like to push?
I believe my Twitter is Benjamin Hepner. I'm not
There you
sure.
go.
Hold on, let me check.
Plain
I
and
know you
simple.
can find me as the Dead Dorito on there.
There you
I know
go.
that for a
You can
fact.
also find his Twitch stream as the
My
Dorito.
Twitch stream is also the Dead Dorito. Twitch stream is really where you want to go if you want to find me.
Michael, what about you?
All social medias at the Chunky Taco, or not the Chunky Taco, just Chunky Taco. Capital C, capital T, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it.
And I am Colin Morris at _C Morris on Twitter and Instagram. And I believe my Twitch is MOCO29464.
I think that's what it is.
I
if
believe
remember
that's what it
correctly.
is.
That one is not 100%. Well, we will work on that for next episode.
Yep. And we'll see where the meta's at the next time we meet, guys. Thanks for joining us, everybody in the chat room. And we will see you next time. And if you're watching this video right now, hit the like button.
Do it.
Comment on this video.
Do it.
It's
They're
right
down
there. It's right
They're
there.
down there.
Hit the subscribe button. Do it. Just click it.
I'm already
Just click it.
subscribed.
Just-
Jeez, Colin.
Well, Ben, you were one of those good people who came in just because we were talking about League of Legends, and you were like, finally, people to
Hey,
talk about this.
No. I'm always there. I always have it up when you guys are talking about sports. But that's another one of those things where I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about when you're talking about it. But I always have it up.
Well, I thank you for that. It means a lot.
We need more
You're one
people
of our-
like Ben in the world, guys. Be
Yeah.
like Ben.
Be
Click
like Ben.
down there.
And then maybe one day you could be on this show. Not this
Right.
show. But this week we'll also be introducing on the channel. Leighton and I will be doing an NBA only show called The Backdoor 3. We'll be talking everything NBA, breaking down the first week of action. And then Wednesday night will be the triumphant return of the main stand podcast on this here YouTube channel, Consistently Inconsistent Sports, with me, Michael, and Leighton.
Yeah,
And
boy.
we will see you the next time you see us. Have a
Thanks,
good night,
guys.
everybody.
Have a good one.